excited.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
A good Thursday afternoon to you. Welcome to Two Guys and a Goalie, presented by GS Construction, live right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in live on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, watching on YouTube, or for those listening to us wherever you get your podcast. I am not Dustin Nielson. I am Matt Iwanek in for Dusty. It's a Two Matts and a Goalie edition today. Matt Kassian in studio today. Joaquin Gage over video. This is reverse. This is weird.
That's why I decided to come in.
I like it.
I was just like, well, Gager's not going to be there, so I don't have to put up with him. And we can just shut it off.
I don't know if we've done this before. I've done it with Gager and you all there. I don't know if I've ever had
just
you
me and
here and him there. Gager, how are you today?
Yeah, it's Bizarro World today, I guess. We're in the upside down. I know that Stranger Things comes back in the summertime. It's just a little preview.
I didn't know it was coming back in the summertime.
I didn't either.
I learned that. I've never watched Stranger Things. White Lotus season 2
Really?
starts on Sunday.
I know you're a White Lotus fan. I know
Great.
that.
But you know what comes after White Lotus? It's The Last of Us season 2.
I know. I might have to talk to you about.
I will get it for you. Don't worry. You're gonna have to wait a day, but every Monday I'll get you that Gager. Don't you worry today. Gager, you missed out on today because of BP's. We got a drop. Curtis from BP's Westgate, 170th Street. He dropped in some heart-shaped pizzas for us here today.
Valentine's Day coming up.
Valentine's Day coming up. It is tomorrow. If you are looking for something to eat tomorrow, Boston Pizza's tomorrow. Small and medium heart-shaped pizzas. Take in, delivery, dine in at the 170th location, the Westgate, where Tommy does pre and post game. $1 from heart-shaped pizzas, and desserts will go to the Veterans Association as well as the food bank. So you're doing good. You're gonna eat some amazing food. It's just a way to celebrate Valentine's Day.
It's great for the kids too.
Great for the kids too.
Great for the kids too. Kind of different. Get the heart-shaped pizza.
Do you guys have your plans solidified for tomorrow for Valentine's Day?
I do. We're not doing anything tomorrow. Like I'll give got a little gift for Mandy. I actually got to go pick it up after here, and I know she's not going to watch, so it doesn't matter. And then
Well, you're not spoiling the gift though, so even if
no,
she
I'm
was.
not. Well, I might, but I'll spoil the kids' gifts because they're definitely not watching. But for the kids, we did. There's the Frozen musical is coming up.
Yes,
in a couple weeks. I actually might already be on, but was able to score a couple of tickets for the kids. For
is this the Citadel?
At the Citadel.
Yeah.
So that's the girls' one. They know they're getting something. Been dropping them some hints. They haven't figured it out. Like they're like, well, that line's from Frozen, but what could it be anyway? So they should be surprised. Hopefully they're excited. But that'll be the one for the girls. So a pretty big one for them. And then that's kind of that. So that'll be like the Valentine's big thing. We'll be in a couple of weeks heading to watch that, which will be fun. I like plays and musicals. I mean, I've seen Frozen 8 million times because of the kids. So it's not like it's going to be surprising what happens, but fun going to live shows and that sort of thing.
Citadel is a great spot.
Yeah,
it's a great spot to go watch a show. Gager, you all set for Valentine's? Is this like I don't know? I'm not married, obviously. Is Valentine's still a thing for married couples? Like, is it still important or anything?
Just like me notifying you about Stranger Things, you just let me know that it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. So thanks for that. I'll let you know.
You know what?
I think.
Go ahead, Gage.
I think I'm my son, he sent me a text and he asked if I wanted to go see the new Captain America movie. So I think that's what I'll try to do. We'll see.
So you and your son are going to celebrate Valentine's Day.
Hey, you can celebrate Valentine's Day with your son.
I know.
Yeah.
For the wife, I'm assuming your wife would father-son time. That would make her happy.
Yeah.
She gets alone time.
Yeah, Gage leaves. He's not there. She can do what she wants.
See how much better it is there without me? Just imagine how my wife feels.
Well, you know what? You know what's funny is that's like one of the best gifts I could give my wife is like just time alone. Like she just
I will go away. You're welcome.
And take the kids, and you can either have time at the house or you can just go somewhere by yourself without anyone bugging you and no guilt attached. It's like one of the best gifts you can give her. She loves it.
But yeah, if you're looking for something to eat and you don't have plans, Boston Pizza tomorrow with the small and medium pizzas. They are heart-shaped pizzas and going to good cause, especially Westgate, 170th Street, $1 going to a Veterans Association as well as the food bank. Boys, we had a hockey game yesterday. Canada, Sweden, first time these two teams met in a best-on-best since the 2014 Sochi Olympics because they did not meet at the last World Cup, in which was at 16 or something like that. An overtime win for Team Canada. Cass, let's start with you here. Just your thoughts on the first game of Four Nations. Did it go how you thought maybe this tournament would go?
It was a little more fun than I thought it'd be. I thought pace of play was great. Like it was fast. Little mistakes at times, you could tell. I think that they're not quite used to playing with one another on Team Canada, but I liked the game. Like it was an exciting game to watch. Hated that they gave up that lead in the third and fell apart for a little bit there. But overall, I found it was exciting. It was really fun seeing some of those best players in the world play together. Overall, it was a positive for me to be able to watch that and watch Team Canada and see those guys play together. It was good. Now to me, I'm like, it was just one game and it's just a little taste, but it makes me excited for what the Olympics could be.
Oh, so this is like so you're already jumping to 26. So you're not even looking at like tonight's game or Saturday.
I am.
Right, but
I am.
But for something like maybe say, okay, the rest of this tournament, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
You're seeing this more as a 26 is going to be so
I'm
great.
Seeing both because I'm like, the rest of this is probably going to be fun. I'm like, if all the games are like that one, I'm like, it's going to be a high pace, because you never know going into it in the middle of a season, something like this, because it's not the Olympics, like what?
The care?
The care level of the guys going into it. But I think we saw them care, both teams, last night. I think we will see that from the other teams as well. So it's like, I am excited for the rest of it. But I'm even more excited than for the Olympics when it's just like, because yes, there's bragging rights in this, but it doesn't really matter.
It's not, it doesn't have the meaning.
It doesn't have the meaning of, the Olympics to it. So it gets me more excited for that. Right.
Like it is still, even though they're four really good nations. Gage, just your thoughts on what you saw yesterday in our first chance getting to watch a game for the Four Nations?
From the moment the anthem started, I was all in. I felt connected to it. It's just what I thought it was going to be. I built that thing up in my head, maybe because of the lack of support that my partner Hernan Salas 1 to 3 afternoons every day had for this tournament, and I felt like I had to bring it double time. But it was great. I mean, the first period, I felt I went through a bunch of emotions. I thought just with watching a game as a fan for the first time, and I can't remember how long, guys, that I've actually kind of been. I almost went downstairs, grabbed an old Team Canada jersey, and threw it on for the game myself. But one thing I want to ask you guys, when you saw Connor kind of doing Connor McDavid things and hearing like Montreal fans, like as soon as anytime him or McKinnon or Crosby got the puck, you could hear the excitement in that stadium. And Cass, you've played in that place. It is electric. Oh, it's I don't know what it is, but you get so much juice off that crowd being home or away. And I thought it was great. I know, if we're gonna look at it like we should and analyze it, we're upset with the 2 goals, but after a while, I'm kind of like, I'm glad it's 3-3 with a couple minutes left here. And we're actually going to get 10 minutes of 3-on-3. NHL has to change that rule next year. It has to go, because we'll never see a shootout again if it goes to 10 minutes. And I know there's, it's extra time added on to games and stuff, but come on, guys, that was some of the most exciting hockey that we've seen in a long, long time.
And we'll get to the 3-on-3 in a bit, because I think Nathan McKinnon had some thoughts on the idea of extending it in the regular season. But in terms of players, I think also what helps is the fact that Canada and Sweden look like they're cared. The U.S. and Finland, they're going to go tonight and be like, well, If those guys care, we need to get our wins here because
otherwise we're going to get spanked.
They're ready. They're in on this, and either we don't care and we're going to get spanked, or we've got to match their level, compete. So game on, let's go. And I think having that as the first game really sets the table for the rest of this tournament. Where all the players are going to be all in.
And I think one of the great things, and you guys kind of, Gager, you mentioned it already, like in the great decision about having it in Montreal. And the opening game being Team Canada in Montreal, and then just even the situation. So it's like you have that extra tension in the building, the extra buzz in the building, just because that building always does. It's such a good place to watch a hockey game. If you ever get a chance, please go. It's a blast. Was the penalty in the goal early in the hockey game? Like, I think that was huge too, to set the tone, and just on an emotional level for the team, where it was like, you know, one of your big guys gets high sticked early after going out there and really setting the tone from a physicality standpoint early on to be like, no, we're here. This is a real game. We're really involved in this. Draws a penalty, and then they scored that goal. Like, not just a power play goal, but, you know, McDavid
perfect
to Crosby through
it's like they've been doing this for years together
through traffic.
And it was 8 seconds or whatever it was.
Yeah, to McKinnon backdoor, and then the explosion in the building again after that. It was just like it. You know, you kind of had a good situation for it to be primed, and then it exploded. And the great thing about doing that first, not to naysay Americans, not to naysay games being played in Boston, but having that first one in Montreal, in Canada, with Team Canada, and then having a motion early in it, to me, that just set the tone, and hopefully for the rest of the tournament, which is just a great thing. And I went back and forth, Gage. I wasn't, you know, I didn't work myself the way up that you did, but
he was Mr. Four Nations.
Yeah. Yeah, but it did suck me in. It sucked me in, and it was great.
I always felt that the players would show up because, you know, these are the most competitive people in the world in hockey, right? Like, and you get them playing a game that's for country, it's going to matter. This isn't like, it's different putting on your division jersey for an all-star game. But when you're playing for your country, like, you knew these players were going to maybe care a little bit, and we saw that yesterday. Do you guys want to break down this game a little bit more? Do you keep Connor McDavid with Sam Reinhart and Mitch Marner for another game if you're John Cooper? Do you try to see if that chemistry is going to work, or do you sit there and go, okay, maybe this didn't go well. It's Team USA. Let's put someone else there. Gager?
I'll say this for John Cooper. He's the first coach that we've seen to be able to keep Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid apart. So great job so far.
I think one of the other jokes I saw yesterday, this is the first time in a long time Connor McDavid has played with a team full of less talent than with Leon Draisaitl. Like, there's no one on the same level as Leon.
You know, it creates such a issue, I think, defensively for teams. And I mean, I thought Sweden did a great job. Like, you really saw how good Victor Hedman was. And even our own Matthias Ekholm, how good he is defending the rush against really top-notch speed. But I like seeing McKinnon and McDavid split up, just because it gives you that 1-2 punch of, I don't know how you're going to defend zone entries with either of those two guys. And usually one of them has Cale Makar playing with them too. So it's just it's a deadly 3-pronged attack of just speed and dynamics. And let's not forget, there's some other guys that can gain the zone quite easily too. But for now, I think you keep it together. I think there's still something there. Like Cass said, you saw there was glimpses of them kind of figuring it out, but there was also some lapses where, okay, where is this kind of guy going to be? So unfortunately, in a tournament like this where there's not a lot of time, we might see switches probably midway through the first. But if they're not kind of generating, but I'd like to see them keep it together at least for another 20, maybe 30 minutes.
I think they will. And I'm going to go to Connor McDavid's comments post-game, where he talked about how they did have some really good looks. You know, it wasn't all perfect. Just to completely paraphrase him, wasn't all perfect, but we did have some really good looks, and there's some moments that felt really good as a line. And I think just even him saying that is like, you know, if Connor McDavid's feeling it a little bit, even a little bit, they're probably going to stick with it for a little bit longer and let it run. And we do have to remember, like, if we look at the defense of all the teams in this tournament, like Sweden's defense is fantastic. Mm-hmm. Like in terms of mobility and guys that can both skate and play a shutdown game. Like they have probably the most mobile defense in the whole tournament. And there were times when they still got a little bit exposed by those guys. So I think you stick with it. Now, if the USA game goes really poorly in the first 20 minutes, well, maybe you do see a switch. But I would assume that that's probably the line that we're going to see that game start with.
And that's where I'm curious just how John Cooper is looking at this. Is this a tournament to play with things because of 2026? And this is a preseason tournament? Or is this we're trying to win this tournament and 2026 is a later thought? And so are you trying to build that chemistry just for this tournament? Like, I'm very curious
you want to
be
be the
thought process.
You want to be the coach. Do you want to be the coach in 2026 if you're John Cooper?
I think he is.
Right.
I think no matter what he is.
You think no matter what?
Yes.
Like if they bomb the next 3 games horribly, or next 2 games horribly,
because one is who would you replace him with? He is the best coach in hockey in my mind.
I'm
number 2 is
I think
it's. I think it's one of those if he wants to experiment and see what is like. Let's say he goes into the next game and says, "I want to see what Crosby or McDavid and McKinnon look like 5v5 through a whole game," because when you get to the Olympics next year, there is no exhibition. You're right into it too. And I wonder if he's thinking, I'm going to use this time to try to win, but experiment for 2026 so we're ready to go. Because who cares about the 4? If they bomb these next 4, I don't think it's a nation we're going to... What we will say is no one cares about the 4 nations. That's how we will sell it.
That's how we'll lie to ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And if we win it, we're going to talk about we're the best of the 4 nations and how great we are. And it's the same for the other. If the Americans go win this, for the people that care down south, they're going to be like, we're better than Canada, but they lose. But it's not the Olympics.
No one cares. Yeah,
that's how it's good. That's how this is going to go. We all know that. It's a money grab. Who cares? So I wonder if he's playing, if he's going to mess around with things because he wants to know what does work or what doesn't work going into next year. I really just want to get inside the head of John Cooper, which I won't be able to, and know what he's thinking on all of this.
There's no, it's, have they ever done like the World Juniors where they meet, like there's a summer camp or before the season that they get together or something like that? There's nothing like that for the Olympics, right?
No,
Guys have never done that in the past, I don't think.
Would they be allowed to even?
Well,
I
thought there was something before one of the Olympics in a summer.
I thought there was too. That's why I brought it up. I can't remember. 10 or 14,
but I thought there was like a little bit of a camp, and they brought what was expected to be like the roster with some extra names, like you usually do. I don't know if that was just for juniors or if that was for the Olympics.
I'm pretty sure it was because I'm pretty sure Babcock was the coach at the time, and because there were a few other guys that went to camp, and I think Dan Cleary was actually one of the guys at camp, and because I remember watching him in an interview saying that they asked him about practice, and he goes, "Yeah, it's the same that we have in Detroit." But yeah, I think they did get together before. It was kind of an expanded camp too. There was probably about 30 guys invited, but then they trimmed it down after that. But I'm not sure which year that actually was. But I think it was, and I think that would be beneficial, right? Because you're getting a really good look at a lot of these guys. But then I think,
So I found an article from 2004 in advance of the 14 Olympics.
Yeah,
there was a 2013 summer orientation camp that Hockey Canada had. And they had they had 5 goalies, they had a bunch of defensemen and a bunch of forwards that showed up. And they got their little, and it was, I don't know if they were the only ones to do it. But they had that whole selection. So I wonder if we'll see that this summer. Or if this...
I think it'd be a good idea, right?
Well, the more time you get together.
Yeah, and if you're doing that, then this is like, you're playing for 4 nations. You don't care about 2026 if you're John Cooper. Yeah. If you're the team, you're going to worry about that in the summer. Then you're worried about just winning now. Yeah. I completely forgot about that, Gager. Good memory.
Yeah. Sometimes it works.
Dusty in the nasty chat. Gage at home, Kassian studio. What's going on here? I'll see you all tomorrow. And as Big Uke says, Dusty coming back for beer of the week as a primer for Saturday. Classic. This is Two Guys and a Goalie. Manawanek, Matt Kassian, Joaquin Gage with you, presented by GS Construction, setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety. Driving their success, GS Construction has a foundation built on teamwork. Now they want you to become part of their team. Visit gsconstruction.ca and click Ready to Work, or visit their page at indeed.ca. With the Next Person Up program at GS Construction, it's not just a job, it is career. Okay, so the breakdown in the third period for Canada. When you go into this tournament, they didn't have the best goaltending for this tournament. Is this a shock to you that you saw what you saw yesterday for Canada? Is it like, are you surprised fully by what we saw, or was it still a little surprising that Canada gave up those goals and we saw overtime? Cass?
Yeah, I think just with the quality of the team as a whole, little surprised that you give it up. At the same time, not surprised, because it is a team that hasn't played together before. And so you're still trying to figure things out and figure out how to lock down a game, how people play in different game situations stylistically. Did this game give me cause for concern with Binnington? Probably not. I don't think so. No, like, I don't think I'm freaking out. I think I'm looking at more as the team as a whole just slid a little bit in that third and didn't finish it out. Binnington just couldn't get the job done and make the big save when they needed him to.
Gager?
Well, I mean, if we're gonna kind of look at each goal, it's kind of a moving screen on the first one. It couldn't have gone more perfectly for Brodin from that angle. Still, from that spot, you would, if this is an NHL game, you would, and that was Stuart Skinner, we'd be having him traded, right? So
people are panicking.
So you don't like that one. The Kempe one, look, I know what that feels like. And it's a great shot. Like, that Kempe has a sneaky release, but again, that's where you goes through him. You probably want to save. There's nothing he could really have done. The score, he would have needed to do that scorpion save on the third one. But then you look at the end of the game. Mika Zibanejad has a glorious chance to score. He comes across, stops that one, made 2 or 3 really big saves in overtime. So if I look back to prior Canada Cups where they were winning 6-5, Grant Fuhr even allowed some suspect goals, but when it got to the point where they needed a save to win the game, what did the Canadian goaltender do? He kept it out of the net and allowed his team enough time so they could regroup and win the hockey game, and that's the most important thing. So, yeah, I have no problem. The bounce back of allowing goals maybe you shouldn't have is more impressive than kind of some of the saves that he made, because he had the mental fortitude to put those behind him and keep going and make the saves that his team needed.
Yeah, and I went into this tournament feeling we're going to give up goals as a nation. And there are going to be some goals.
Everyone's going to score goals. Like, there's
but also, like, I believe that Canada's going to score more. Like, that's where the strength of this team is going to be up front. That if it is tied late, I'm not worried about Canada finding that goal. I'm not worried about that group of forwards figuring it a way to score that goal. And it took overtime for it yesterday, but they're the ones that figured out that goal. Canada's not going to win games like in 14 when they gave up a goal a game or whatever it was. We're not going to be a defensive machine. So things are going to happen. Did you guys think McKinnon, like, are you into this narrative right now that McKinnon too selfish in overtime?
Not with his shot.
Looked off McDavid twice.
I don't like where McDavid went to the soft area over there. And I think McKinnon would have liked to have put it there, but, well, you know, if it gets over there, McDavid's it's Connor McDavid. He can probably score from there. I realize that, but I just thought that I would have liked him a little bit tighter to the net there. I thought there was an easier play, make it a little bit easier for McKinnon to get the puck to him. But again, McKinnon on his off wing like that coming down, I have no problem with him taking that shot. He almost slipped at 5-0 there. It's a vicious shot.
Yeah, and if he tries to make the pass and it doesn't work and it comes back the other direction, we're going, why didn't he shoot it?
Yeah,
right. Like the reality is McKinnon is one of the best goal scorers, one of the best players in the world.
I don't think there would be criticism if it wasn't McDavid. I think it was reversed. If McDavid didn't pass to McKinnon, there would be no one in Edmonton saying He was being selfish. It was because people wanted McDavid to be the hero of this.
Yeah.
That's why I was wondering where you guys were coming from on this. I'm fine with Nathan McKinnon, who if we're gonna say Leon Draisaitl is not the second best player in the world, it's because then Nathan McKinnon's the second best player in the world type thing. And I'm okay if he wants to shoot that puck.
Totally okay. There should be no issues with, like, you call it selfish if you want, but it's not selfish because you're taking a grade A good opportunity to score a goal you can't criticize one of the best players in the world for that decision to say, I'm going to try to put the puck at the net and score a goal here. Like, you just can't. You can't criticize that. You shouldn't criticize that. And I think you made a great point. Like, if it was Brad Marchand on the other side, everyone would be like, "Oh, it was good he didn't do it, pass it." It's just because it's Connor and we're here.
And how many times have we been talking about Connor McDavid? We would like him to maybe be a little bit more selfish in those types of situations and take the safety off, right? Just for you want the puck in the hands of guys that want to score the goal. I think at that point, it's the last shot opportunity, right? You don't want guys looking to pass.
I do want to get to Sweden quickly here, but before I do that, Shea Theodore, he's going to be out for the tournament. Vegas Golden Knights have listed him as week to week. How big of a blow is this to Team Canada?
I thought you were going to ask how big of a blow is this to Vegas?
They get LTIR.
I know, but
they're going to trade for some. The fact that it's week to week, they now can go trade for someone. They can go and do the cap circumvention thing that they always do, but it's legit because it happened at the Four Nations.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. Like, to one degree, and I don't wish injury on anyone. Like, but as an Oiler fan, if you're out there, you're probably going, "That's not the worst thing of anyone to get injured." A player from Vegas.
You're like, yeah.
Okay, they maybe get hurt, but I think for them it is though Kelly McCrimmon, and he's going to take advantage of this in some way, shape, or form.
Probably. I look at it from a Team Canada Four Nations standpoint as being, if I was going to pick, again, you don't want anyone to get hurt. If I was going to pick one of the defensemen where I'm like, they could go down, and you're probably going to be okay, it might be Shea Theodore.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because, well, not funny that someone got injured, but at first I was like upset because he's a very good defenseman and a guy that can lug the mail. But then on the other side, I'm going, well, geez, that's having an injury to the Golden Knights that helps the Oilers' chances of securing first in the Pacific, I think, a little bit more. But I don't know. I watched Drew Doughty a lot last night. I know he's just coming back from injury, but he looked a little bit of a step behind. And this is like coming in really late. And he doesn't look out of place when he plays for the Kings, right? But I just felt, if there's one weak kind of link right now, and I equate it more to just because he hasn't played all year, it would be Drew Doughty.
Yeah, I'm actually happy you brought that up because in retrospect, and I know what I just said, like maybe I'd put Drew Doughty as the only other one.
It's just easy to forget about him because
I forgot about him because he's a late addition. But now that you mentioned that, Gage, there were a couple times shifts in defensive zone coverage in the second period in particular when Sweden was applying some pressure to Team Canada. They had some zone time, and I felt like Doughty was running around a little bit. And some of it I thought, he got caught up too high a couple of times.
Yeah.
Following a guy during the cycle, whereas I would have liked him to pump the brakes a little bit, back up to his net. And that's a reading a fast game in a fast moment to moment situation. And I did have that thought, and it was just a small thought. So it wasn't like it was continual and happened multiple times during the game. But I did have that thought of, you know what? Is Doughty actually ready to play at this level for the whole tournament? And I don't know. So yeah, I guess I got to rescind that it ideally would be Shea Theodore. And again, not ideal that anyone gets hurt.
But if there's one that had to be subtracted from the roster.
Yeah, I might have to back that up a little bit and say I was wrong. I should have said Drew Doughty, but Shea Theodore would be second.
I will say for Vegas, I'm surprised they listed week to week. Why don't just go 4 to 6 weeks? They should have announced just 4 to 6. If he comes back sooner, great. Then you could do the cap circumvention. They're making a move at the deadline. They're going to do something here. You just know it. So
It's Vegas, of course.
Of course they're going to do that. When it comes to Sweden, what do you guys make of Matthias Ekholm's play? Gager?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Man, I thought, okay, how's he going to look best on best? I know he's great, but man, there were a few shifts where, he was the focal point. He dominated in the defensive zone and in the offensive zone. Man, is he a whale of a player? And I think for Sweden and these types of tournaments, them getting together, it's probably a lot of fun for those guys too, right? They want to win, of course. I was extremely impressed with the way he played. I was impressed with them all, actually. Sweden's got so much talent on that back end, from just Hedman, Brodin, Ekholm, Carlson, Dahlin. It was just the way that they can shut down a chance and go the other way so quickly with pinpoint passing, and then their ability to jump in the rush. Like they are. Who do they play on set? So the Finnish, they play Finland. I mean, obviously we haven't seen Finland, but you gotta think that Sweden's going to win that game, and that's kind of looking in that crystal ball. Whatever happens Saturday, that game Monday with U.S. Sweden, I'm definitely going to be watching that to see what that looks like, because I think that's the strength of their team when you look at it. Like I would say for Edmonton, the Team Canada, that their forward group is their strong point, but I really think for Sweden it's those six guys on D.
No, it absolutely is. For me, that's without question it is, and Ekholm really anchors it. Like if you look at guys, on that, and I would put Brodin in the same camp. Probably doesn't get talked about that much because plays in Minnesota, but for both Jonas Brodin and Matthias Ekholm, they are guys that it's not like they're offensive juggernauts. Like they're not a Cale Makar in the offensive zone. They're not. Not that anyone is, but they're not. But they are so steady defensively and read the game so well positionally that you put them with another partner that plays the game well, either offensively or defensively, like a Hedman, like a Carlson. And man, it is beautiful to watch. Like not any big mistakes. Like you could still beat them, McDavid, Crosby, McKinnon, just because they're that
the high end net talent of Canada is ridiculous.
Is ridiculous.
The high end part of it,
right, is absolutely insane. So it's like, well, yeah, sometimes those players are going to make plays you can't really do anything against. But as just a whole over the course of a game, I mean, that group is awesome, and Ekholm's a huge part of that. And we saw that where it's just, because people will, they'll look at him here in Edmonton, and generally playing with Evan Bouchard, and it's like you see him play really well at home, but this is just another opportunity to even increase the quality of defensive partner and just to see how he manages that inside of a game, and he does it beautifully. Yeah, he was really good and will be a absolute beast for them still for the rest of the tournament.
It did so well with McDavid on that rush on the boards, and where got around the net, and it needed that little stumble there, but in the end McDavid still almost scored. But he's probably after that going, thank God I'm done. Yeah. Maybe one more. Maybe there's a gold medal game, but I'm back to, he's my teammate once I come back to Edmonton. So thankfully I don't have to go up against that every single day. Okay, Gage brought it up earlier. 3-on-3, 10-minute overtime in the NHL.
I'm here for it.
Are you?
I am. I don't like the PA signing off on it is going to be a big thing, but the more bigger players you get that are advocating for it, I think the more likely it is that it's going to happen.
So here's a tweet from Pierre LeBrun. Part of this, I'm assuming, is a little bit of a joke, but Nathan McKinnon said no thanks to the idea of 10 minutes overtime coming to league play. 7 minutes at most, he said. But he said he was absolutely gassed tonight. And I think most stars feel the same way.
Yeah, I was going to say 8 minutes.
Legitimately?
Like I was like, maybe you go up a couple more. 10 might be too long because your stars are going to play the entire time.
Yeah, you're not throwing out your third or fourth line.
No.
And then it's also like if they did go out there, it wouldn't be as exciting as when McDavid and Draisaitl.
It'd be more exciting. There'd be bigger mistakes.
Did you watch the 18 Olympics? They did 3-on-3, and that's when I realized 3-on-3 is exciting because of the stars. It wasn't as exciting.
You just never watched me play 3-on-3. Perry Burns. I make all kinds of plays. Lots of toe drags.
Do you?
Toe drags everywhere.
Oh, yeah?
All over the place. Only place I get to do them.
Yeah, but you weren't going to do that in the middle of an NHL 3-on-3.
If they let me, I would.
But yeah, the Stars are the ones that don't have to carry that extra minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't think they'd want it.
Probably not. I think, again, if you could get them to advocate for it, then you'd see a change right away. I wonder if you could convince him to go 7 minutes. Just give us 2
Well, maybe
more.
he wasn't then joking at that. I thought maybe it was just with how long OT went yesterday. Gager, like, you want it.
Well, I'm. It's funny because I thought the shootouts would be fun to watch, but now I'm tired of them.
But
and then when I look at,
we enjoyed
Yeah.
shootouts for the first 4 or 5 years or whatever it might have
Well,
been.
because it was better than a
course.
tie game.
Yes.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
3-on-3
it
is
was-
better than the shootout.
So
Yes.
if it goes 10 minutes, say it goes 10 minutes, does the game end in a tie then? And we get rid of the
move to the 3-point model.
Well, we will get to that part with that there.
Yeah.
I think one of the rules before was it would go, you'd still add the shootout because the chances of a 3-on-3 going the full 10 would be a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Like of how many games do get ended when it gets to overtime, that shrinked probably how many games that go to shootout. And now if you add an extra 5 minutes to that, chances are you're probably going to get even less shootout games. I don't think they'd want a tie. I don't think people would live
probably.
with ties. I think people
I
would
wouldn't want it.
I think people, if we had it 3-on-3 for 10 minutes, but a tie versus 3-on-3 for 5 minutes plus then shootout, I bet more people would be in favor of the one with the shootout.
Yeah, well, because you don't like the tie. I don't like the tie.
No, I don't like the tie either.
I don't like the tie.
But I do like 10 minutes of overtime. It's
So how are you going to convince these Stars?
well,
What's the selling point?
The salary
So-
cap's going up by X. You're going to get paid.
yeah. I don't
Why
know.
would the salary cap go up?
Well, it is going up.
Oh, with that. Well, but they already got that. They don't,
I know,
they don't want
but
to play
I-
harder for a few extra minutes.
Just think of the more excitement and more people watching the games and the better ad revenue, which means HRR goes up, which means ultimately Stars are going to get more money. And also, suck it up. You know, you are getting paid a lot if you're a star to play those extra minutes.
Yeah, but the
If
people
you
that-
don't like
some of
it,
the other players, the ones that don't have to play the extra 3-on-3 are getting the
be better,
money too.
Yeah, but be better during the game to win the game in regulation. Just be better.
And coaches be better at coaching
Right.
guys how
Coaches
to
will
play 3-on-3.
Bench management during the game. You
Yeah.
stars are,
Coaches
you
will
played your
always
stars
try
too
to
much.
find the ways to take the fun out of these things. They always do. We 3-on-3. They started coaching it where like you hold on to the puck for a little bit to get possession and force the Stars to go off the ice. Coaches suck. Maybe that's. Let's go 3-on-3, 10 minutes.
Coaches
but the
can't
coaches
be
have
on
to
the
go.
bench.
They're gone. The coaches have to go to the locker room, and there are no more coaches. The players coach themselves for overtime.
I just want to see at one point them gain possession and the goalie goalie goes to the bench and they go 4-on-3, right? That's what I want to see. Just like in minor hockey.
That would be wild if we went to that in the National Hockey League.
Well, I get, like you mentioned the 3-point game, right?
Well,
I think that if you got to this time of year, or maybe a few more weeks, especially in the Eastern Conference, you would probably see teams that need points. And if it does go to overtime, I would be pulling my goalie trying to win, right?
Let's get to Hire It or Fire by GS Construction, who are hiring now. Become part of their great team today by visiting gsconstruction.ca or visit their page, indeed.ca. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, and safety. Take your career to the next level. Join the team at GS Construction. Okay, one of my Hire It or Fire It's was Hire It or Fire It. 3-2-1-0 point system needs to be in the National Hockey League.
Hire
or Fire
it. Probably not going to happen, but hire it.
Why do you think probably won't happen?
Because it will, I would assume, and maybe I have to look, so maybe I'm wrong. My initial assumption, and this could be, again, completely wrong, I could be really way out of it with this, is that it would decrease parity.
Okay, well, I got the standings. There's a website, NHL3points.com, that has the NHL current standings with a 3-2-1 system. So I'm just trying to see. So Washington in a 3-2-1 system would be top of the division, 111 points, followed by Carolina at 99 points. Right now, that division, it's a 10-point difference. So it's an 12-point difference. Doesn't change too much there. Florida's at 99 points. Toronto's at 96 points. They're at 71, 68, so it's the same. When you come to the wild card, I'll go 2 wild card spots in the first team out. It's 84, 83, 82. Right now, it's 62, 61, 60. That's all out east.
So it's not that.
So I feel like it's Ottawa, Rangers, Detroit. Right now, it sends Red Wings, Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
So it completely changes who's in the playoffs.
Who's in it.
For the West, it would be the Avs would be the first wildcard team, but the Canucks would be higher than the Flames right now on a 3-2-1.
See,
system.
I would still hire it even with the changes, and this is kind of the thought process in that too. Is it pushes teams, especially if they're in the hunt for a playoff spot, to take risks later in a game, because it's like, well, yes, we could get to overtime. We're going to get at least 1 point, but we need 3. Right? Like we don't want, yes, we could win in overtime and get 2 points, but we need 3. So it just allows, in my opinion, for bigger point swings during a season.
Get those 6-point games.
You get those 6-point games. Like it really does. It to me, it's like, it just would make it potentially more exciting down the stretch heading into playoff positioning for me. So
because if it goes past the 60, well, there's a maybe of such a crucial point loss, but you may still win, but you lost. You didn't get it. You didn't get that third point.
That third point that could maybe be the difference. So yeah, I'm here for it. I got to hire it.
Before I get to you, Gage, the Golden Knights would be at 102 points. The Oilers at 97. Right now, the Oilers are at 72. The Golden Knights are at 72. So they're tied in the current standings. The Oilers have a game in hand. In a 3-2-1, the Oilers would be 5 points back. Gage, would you hire or fire it? The NHL needs to switch to the 3-2-1 0-point system.
Oh, I'd hire it. Cass laid out the exact reasons I think it should be done. And I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before I was reading, and there was a certain team. I forget who it was. Was it? Anyway, they lost a lot in the shootout, right? They seemed to go to a ton of shootouts. And if they had won like 4 more shootouts, they would have been in the playoffs, right? So I love the idea of getting the 3 points in regulation. I think you should be rewarded for winning a game in regulation. And then exactly as Cass said, you get down to the last 20 games of the season and you're trying to gain some ground. Or, maybe I think it might even create a little bit more strategy involved for the teams at the top of the division looking to secure home ice, right? Those last 5 games of the season actually mean a lot, because those 3-point games usually are played between divisional opponents where you can make up ground and maybe get home ice for that first round. So I think it works on both levels of the spectrum, where the wild cards are battling, but of course you're going to get that at the top end too.
I do wonder why the NHL is doing this though in the 4 nations. Because you said
you have a short, because you don't have that many games.
But do you not think this might be a test to see how it goes to add it
potentially?
To the NHL? That's why, because right after that you said you don't think they would do this ever, and why? Like I go
because you don't have enough games. You have one game against each, because a tiebreaker. Like how are you going to do a tiebreaker? 2 teams.
Yeah.
The likelihood
points for, points against.
Right.
Differential
is going to be way closer. And so it's like, well, yeah. You have more ability to separate with how you play. And
that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
The other thing is I look at it and go, the NHL is using this as a test run.
Maybe they are. Maybe they are.
Throw it up there and see, would they like this?
Maybe.
But you're right though. It's such a short tournament that like generally it'd go like goals for or whatever it might be. And maybe they don't want, if there's no semis, they don't want a team knocked out of the finals because they scored 1 less goal, as opposed to, well, you lost in overtime as this team lost in overtime as opposed to regulation.
Right. Or this team didn't win until overtime in 3-on-3, where goals are more likely to be scored. Because even if you do goals for, goals against, you're rewarding teams potentially that win in overtime.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Right. Because
I was maybe I'm naive to thinking the NHL.
Well, they might be. They still might be.
Nah, it's the NHL. Right? You're right.
They still might be. But to me, it was like when they first announced it and we're talking about it, that was my thought, was like, it just allows a little bit more of an accurate representation in a short period of time of how teams played.
Hired or fire it. Yesterday, they officially announced 2028, it'll be a World Cup of hockey. And then they're going to rotate that and try to get that going again. I've heard that story before. They did it in 04, but then not until 16, and then haven't done it now until 2028. But hired or fired, the World Cup of hockey will eventually replace the Olympics as the premier best-on-best hockey tournament. Gager.
Fire it. I know that most hockey players growing up in North America are like the Stanley Cup is their holy grail. But you got a lot of like European hockey players, their Stanley Cup, some of them are just the world championships. The Olympics is kind of the pinnacle still, I think, in a lot of cases. I just think the whole experience of the Olympics too, having the 2 weeks, it just makes it a little bit more memorable. I don't think it'll ever replace it.
Is hire it? It will replace it.
Yep.
I'm going to hire it, and I will hire it because the NHL wants their money. Mm-hmm. and if
they want to keep the money all to themselves, right? With the PA.
If there's a chance that the World Cup is going to take off and be a bigger thing, and they can put more money into it and get more money out of it than the Olympics, they're going to run with that, which means no NHL players at the Olympics, which means you don't have the actual best on best in the world. Because, and there are really great players still playing in Europe. There's really great players still playing in Russia. The NHL is the best league in the world,
yes,
far and away. And so, yeah, I have to assume that the NHL doesn't want to give up any control if they can. Well, nor should they. I don't expect them to.
And part of that too is it's the same as it's just even they can't show the golden goal.
Yeah.
Right.
That is owned by the IOC. A great hockey moment the NHL can't use to promote its own product. It was their players. The PA, it was their work, and they can't use that because the IOC owns it all. So I completely understand the NHL going, well, we'll just do this ourselves. We don't need you.
But that's what the World Cup of hockey will be.
And I'm with you. I hire this, but it's going to take 20, 24, 28 years for this to happen because the NHL has to be consistent in it. They can't do this in 2028 and then not do it again for another 15 years.
No, you got to do it. You got to get on a schedule. You got to roll like a 4 or 5 year schedule. Yes. 4 or 5 year schedule.
And you have to do it on a consistent, and that's why I say it's going to take 20 or whatever years, because once you start doing it on a regular basis, people that are going to get excited for it. The reason we want the Olympics is because there is no best on best hockey. You don't have a World Cup of hockey going. People just want to see the best on best. And if you take that over, like soccer's best on best tournament is the FIFA World Cup. Mm-hmm. It isn't the men's side do not go to the Olympics. They have an under 23 tournament at the Olympics. They took that from the Olympics type thing and then FIFA made it its own thing. The Olympics, we love it because of what it is, but it also, like at one point it was the first Olympics and we didn't think, probably the world didn't think much of it. This is all manufactured, but if we get to a consistent pace, a history will be created with it. A prestige will be created around it, and no one will care about the Olympics anymore because, again, you're right, then the NHLers won't go to the Olympics.
Yeah. They'll
just go to this, and we will then be like, I don't need the Olympics anymore because, Sweden's won the last 2 World Cup of hockeys. Oh, my God, how's Canada going to finally win one of these type of things?
All you have to do, because you don't have to start it immediately, and this is a good little test run for it, mini test run, is say, we're 2025 now, say 2028. So 2 years after the Olympics,
which is when they'll do it.
Which is when they do it, is to say, okay, 2028, we're doing it in every 4 years.
Yes.
From here.
And on top of that, the other thing that will come, and I'd have to go and quickly look up the thing. They will go to the Olympics in 32, I believe. No, so that'd be 2030. Or they'll go 2034 because it's going to Salt Lake. So they'll stay in, Ryan Smith just bought a team in the National Hockey League. They're building a rink. I'm assuming that it's 2034. So I think they'll do 26 Italy. You could go 28 World Cup, 30 France, 32 World Cup, 34 Salt Lake, 36 World Cup, and then say we're just doing the World Cup now.
This
is our thing. IOC, take your money, go away. Unless they come to Canada after that, we're good. We don't need you. This is now our own thing, and it becomes the premier hockey best and best. Have we convinced you, Gager?
I just the one thing is 2 years. Is that enough time in between, or do you need it longer? I just don't want it. I'm
2 years is a good number for me.
Are you saying between with Olympics
majors,
and World Cup?
Yeah, is that burnout, or is it enough?
Well, that's eventually there will be a burnout. But I think I'll use the soccer model for what most people remember here. You got World Cup, and then it's Euro 2 years later. Then it's World Cup, then it's Euros, then it's World Cup, then it's Euros. And there's no burnout from that.
Yeah, but hockey's not football.
No, I understand.
Football is life.
But that's where I also think eventually, though, then the World Cup will go by itself. And then they could do that every 4 years.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think every two fans will clamor for it.
Every 2 years, yeah.
I think they could. I think hockey could do every 2 years still.
Okay. I mean, I'm asking that question from a fan's perspective, just because I don't want to be burnt out on it. So I don't want it to turn into Winter Classic games. All that. Yeah,
But that's different because that's a one-off outdoor event, not a best.
I know. Yeah, it's not the same. I get it, but I mean,
they did the Canada Cup every 3 years.
Yeah, I know. That's what it was.
76, 81, 84, 87, 91. So it was 5 years, 3 years, 3 years, 4 years.
But you'd have an overlap in 1 year if you did it that way, right? At some point.
I think then here's the thing. If they went the schedule I laid out every 2 years for a while and it works, you can continue. If there is that burnout, then that's where you can say, we'll just do the World Cup of Hockey every 4 years. It's the perfect exit ramp for the National Hockey League and the NHLPA to be like, we're done. We're done, IOC. We're just going to keep it all at least to ourselves.
Yeah.
That's the way I could possibly also see it. So that's almost it for Two Guys and a Goalie presented by GS Construction. Dusty and the Nasty Jet says he'll be back tomorrow, but there'll be the oil stream at this moment tomorrow, not Two Guys and a Goalie. Any big plans for a long weekend at all?
No, I mean, we got the Valentine's Day thing. Yeah. So no.
Gager, EST Afternoons up next. Did you have your script yet? What's on the show?
I just had it up. You're going to have to tune in and find it.
Zach will jump on here. What do they got?
Red Light District, of course, every Thursday. And Derek Van Diest from NHL.com will, of course, wrap up the big event that happened yesterday. Of course, I think every hockey fan knows what happened last night. The boys will talk a lot about it.
That's EST Afternoons with Gager and Salas. After that, Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne. We also got Turf District later tonight. On behalf of Gager, Cass, I am Matt. Thanks for tuning in to Two Guys and Goalie here on your clear choice for Edmonton Sports, Edmonton Sports Talk. Like I said, up next, it is EST Afternoons. Don't go anywhere.